If your child resists going to school, refuses going to school, or gets anxious around school-related activities, then this video is for you. Hello, it's Mira Binzen here, author and co-founder, along with my mom, Cheryl, and sister, Stephanie, of Global Family Wellness. We're here to empower you and your family to live a life of total well-being using a positive and natural holistic approach. So let's talk about going to school with anxiety. Now notice I didn't say getting rid of anxiety and then going to school. So there's several strategies that you can use to reduce anxiety before, during, and after, and some strategies for going to school even though anxious feelings may be present. So let's get started. The first thing that's important to understand about school anxiety is that it's closely tied with morning anxiety. Well, what's that? It's actually a really cool response in your body called CAR, which stands for Cortisol Awakening Response. It turns out that your cortisol levels, which is a major player in the stress response in your body, increases on average about 50% within 30 minutes to an hour of waking up. Have you noticed how anxious your kids are in the mornings about 30 minutes to an hour after they wake up? Not after they get up, but after they wake up. So if a kid wakes up and is lying in bed for a half an hour, all of a sudden they don't even want to get out of bed. The cortisol levels are going up, they're feeling more stressed, and they're associating it with the big thing they're going to do next, which is go to school. So understanding this natural response in the body is a great first step to addressing school anxiety. So the car, it's like getting in your car so you can go somewhere and drive that day, is your body's natural response of increasing cortisol levels so that you can take action. It's also part of our body's primitive alarm system. So if you're going to wake up and step out of your cave and there's a big woolly mammoth there that wants to eat you for breakfast, you need to be prepared to fight off that woolly mammoth or flee from it. So again, we want to appreciate our body's amazing mechanism and how it tries to keep us alive and safe, and to recognize that those cortisol levels might be higher than they need to be. They can ramp up, 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 up. And there's a few things we can do to mitigate the amount of cortisol that our body thinks we need first thing in the morning. There's two important things you can do. One is to go to bed with positive thoughts. If you take worry thoughts to bed with you, your body is going to be like, all right, there's a danger. We need to be ready for it as soon as we wake up. So talking about good things, the people you love, having some playtime with your pets, laughing with your family, important things you can do before sleep so that those cortisol levels are less likely to elevate beyond average in the morning. Another important strategy, and this is a common sense alert, is to have a good quality breakfast. One of the things that cortisol does in your body is it increases your blood sugar level. So imagine what a sugary breakfast is doing for those cortisol levels. It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. So a complex carbohydrate breakfast with protein is just a great way to feed your brain while lowering your cortisol levels. And so do the best you can to start reducing or eliminating sugar from the breakfast meal entirely. I hope I don't get a lot of comments about this. So that's the first thing to understand. CAR, Cortisol Awakening Response. You can go to bed with more peaceful thoughts so the cortisol doesn't elevate as much in the morning, and you can have a good quality breakfast that's not going to add to the sugar, to the cortisol, which is going to increase anxious feelings in the morning. The next thing that's important to understand about school anxiety is that there's a lot of anxiety associated with school. There's two common types of anxiety that are directly associated with school. One is separation anxiety. Kids don't want to leave their parents. I mean, you're the nest. You're the awesome spot where the kids always feel safe. Home is familiar. Home is predictable. Mom and dad are there. So separation anxiety, having to leave your parents to go to school, is a real concern for a lot of kids. That's a whole other topic, but just to be aware that that's a factor that needs to be addressed in order for kids to feel safe to go to school. The second common type of anxiety is social anxiety, and school is where a lot of socializing happens. This is one of the best things about school, is that you get to interact with other people and socialize, which is a major part of being a human being. And there can be a lot of anxious feelings associated with socializing. So to get at the root cause of separation anxiety and social anxiety is going to help with school anxiety. It's complex. There's a lot of pieces there, but you absolutely can address this. You might want to partner with a therapist who can help you better understand and make a strategy, because it's all about how you can take care of what's going on inside of you. There's a lot going on around us that we can't really influence, and there's so much going on within us that we can. And so that's another major cause of school anxiety, is there's a lot of things going on in school in addition to the socializing that can be very stressful. Kids today are telling me that some of the most stressful things that they experience at school are tests, pop quizzes, being teased and bullied by other kids at school, and being called on by the teacher. And the number one stressor that kids report to me is having to stand up in front of the classroom and give some kind of presentation. That can be stressful to the point that kids do not even want to go to school. So let's put this in context. Public speaking, which is standing up in front of a group, is one of the most stressful things reported by like all humans across all time. So even famous public speakers like Oprah Winfrey and former presidents of the United States have those exact same feelings when they get up and speak in front of crowds. Even though they get up and speak in front of crowds all the time, it's a normal response in your body. Again, our super cool alarm system trying to keep us safe. Now think about this. You're out on the plains. It's thousands and thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and you're separate from the pack. The pack is here. They're safe. Think about zebras, how safe zebras are in a pack. But you're separated from the pack and you're standing up, so you're more visible than anybody else in the pack. Your primitive alarm system is like, this is not a good idea. This is dangerous. You need to be with the pack. You need to get down, and there's safety in numbers. And so simply by understanding that, like, oh, this is my body's alarm system doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and then using all your tools and strategies that you have to first recognize your anxious feelings, and then second, work to reduce the anxious feeling, which brings us to the next point. You can get ready every morning by doing an awesome morning routine. We have a whole video on this, and it does two important things. One is it tells your alarm system that it can settle down and go back to rest and digest mode, and it gives you practice to use those same tools in the day when anxious feelings arise. So let's use standing up in front of your classroom as an example. In the morning, you're going to spend about 6 minutes, and there's a whole video detailing this. Lay on the ground, belly down, do some deep breathing. The ground helps you feel your belly breathing better, and it slows down your nervous system. It helps your mind and body relax. And then when you go to take a deep breath during the day, you can put your hand on your tummy, and you've already practiced it. So there's a routine there that's in place. So when someone tells you to take a deep breath and you haven't been practicing it, it's much harder to do. Another cool thing is hand gestures or mudras, and I'm going to share two with you right now. One of the most popular ones that kids use during school when anxious feelings arise is called turtle in a shell. Thumbs inside your palms, wrap your fingers over your thumbs, and rest your hands down on your knees. You can do this right at your desk or standing in line or when you're up in front of the classroom. So using this can help direct your energy and your breath to feel more grounded and to feel safe, like a turtle in a shell. Another one kids really like to use during the school day is called the whole world mudra. The fingertips of one hand come to touch the fingertips of the other hand. Your palms are open wide. You always want to have your shoulders relaxed and sitting up tall, and just hold this about the level of your belly button. This too can be done at school. You see great thinkers holding their hands like this, and this can help you feel more aware of your surroundings and in control, in charge. And so there's 2 times to use your tools: every day to practice in the morning and get your body and mind ready for the day, and then during the school day as needed. This works best when you do it consistently and you develop the habit. Like, think about when you first started writing letters and making sentences. It was hard at first. You had to concentrate and practice a lot. It's just like this when you learn to self-regulate your own nervous system, which is super cool that you can do it. All right, so we're doing before, during, and after. Before school, you want to eat a healthy breakfast. You want to practice some tools to regulate your nervous system. And then during school, you can use those tools to, when anxious feelings arise, to feel less anxious. Now, after school, there's some great things we can do to help with school anxiety as well. Sit down either with a loved person, a parent, or somebody you care about, or a journal, and just process your day. What worked well? What didn't work well? When did you feel the most stressed and worried? And how did you handle it? And what might you do differently next time? Also, take some time to focus on what did work. Like, hey, I got on the bus. I went to school. When mom pulled up to the school, I actually got out of the car and went into the building. I had a great time with my friend today. I took a test and I did better than I expected. Or whatever it was, really train your mind to focus on the good things, because there's all these things happening. Some are very stressful. That's life. There's going to be stressful things, and some are awesome and cool. And when we're stressed out, our brain is trained to look more diligently for what's wrong. If you're in a stressful situation, you're on high alert. What's wrong? What's potentially dangerous? So when you practice focusing on what's right, what was fun, what went well, you're turning that alarm mode down, so you're going to experience less stress, less anxiety. It does work. You absolutely can do this. It just takes practice, like learning to read and learning to ride a bike. So you've got your before, during, and after school strategies. You also understand CAR, the cortisol awakening response, and that everyone feels a little anxious or nervous or excited in the morning, and that you can do some things like go to sleep with positive thoughts and have a healthy breakfast to help that cortisol response not overwhelm you. Now, the title of this video is How to Go to School with Anxiety, not how to leave anxiety at home and go to school without it, because the reality is you're probably going to experience some anxious feelings during school. So what I recommend is that you turn that anxiety into a character. Dress it up, give it a funny hat, give it a silly name, think about the characteristics of your anxiety, put it in your backpack, and head into that classroom. Now, when anxiety comes up, you can be like, oh yeah, that's my sidekick, anxiety, and it helps you to give it perspective. Anxiety isn't a state that's overwhelming you, it's a character in the play of your life, and guess who the director is? That's you. So turning anxiety into a character is a fun way to deal with a pretty serious and sometimes difficult emotion. And so I'd love to hear about your anxiety character. If you give it a name, Anxious Annie is one of my favorite anxiety names. And then you're like, oh, there's that character. You might even kind of chuckle as anxiety stumbles in the doorway as you enter into school, right? So you can see how that gives you a little bit of a relief from being anxiety to having anxiety along for the ride. And so that's the final tip for going to school with anxiety. These will work for you in your life. You absolutely can do it. Keep practicing and notice how you're thinking, what you're thinking about. That makes a huge difference. And with practice and with all the other tools that we include in a holistic lifestyle, you will feel less anxious and more awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Let us know how it goes. We love to hear from you. If you'd like some extra help with this, then grab our resource, 5 surprisingly simple ways to help your kids feel less anxious and more awesome. If you like this kind of a conversation, please subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again for being here, and have an awesome day.